Welcome to the law offices of Chris M. Ingram's Immigration News Show. Today we ask, will 2026 speed up your green card?
We would like to thank attorney Chris M. Ingram and staff at the law offices of Chris M. Ingram for their hard work in preparing the research for this show, which draws on a wide variety of news sources from both sides of the aisle, providing a balanced view. Attorney Ingram is also a vocal advocate for the rights and protection of immigration applicants, although our coverage is designed to be nonpartisan.
Please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our channel. We are also on Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Reddit, and Instagram, where we're growing rapidly thanks to our social media team. You can also visit our website on www.breakthroughusa.com. We'd love to see you there.
Disclaimer. Please note that this presentation should not be intended as legal advice for your specific situation. If you, a friend, or a family member would like a free consultation, you can visit our website at www.breakthroughusa.com and schedule an appointment. We'd love to hear from you and help you if we can.
We'd also like to point out that this presentation was created using AI hosts. Okay, let's dive in. So, 2026. It is finally here. I mean, it feels like we've been staring at this date on the horizon for, I don't know, about a decade, doesn't it?
It really does. It's got this weight to it.
Exactly. And if you are a STEM graduate or really any professional looking at the U.S. immigration landscape right now, this isn't just turning a page on the calendar. It feels different.
It feels like the stakes have completely shifted.
Right. We're not just talking about filling out forms and, waiting by the mailbox anymore. This feels like a huge multi-year chess game. You've got employer demands, federal enforcement that seems to change with the wind, and these huge economic forces.
Pushing and pulling the whole labor market. That's a perfect way to frame it. It is a chess game. And what's so interesting about the research our legal team put together for this deep dive is how it shows that immigration for STEM professionals is almost never just a single yes or no moment.
It's more of a journey.
A long-term professional journey.
Yeah.
You don't just get a visa. You have to navigate a whole career through the visa system.
And that journey is just getting louder. There's so much noise. Fees that sound like typos.
They're so high, yeah. And new enforcement rules that are, frankly, a little scary.
It's a chaotic landscape, to put it mildly. So our mission today is pretty straightforward, but I think it's essential. We need to cut through that noise.
Separate fact from fiction.
Exactly. We're going to separate the verified policy, the stuff actually written in the statutes, from all the internet speculation. We're going to look at the real numbers. But ultimately, we are driving toward one big question that I know you are asking. Will 2026 actually speed up your green card process?
$1 million question. Or maybe, given the fees we're about to talk about, the $100,000 question.
Ha! Stick a pin in that because those fees are genuinely shocking. But before we get to the definitive answer on speed and spoiler, there is one. We need to really understand the playing field. To do that, I want to unpack a story that I think is often misunderstood. We're talking about the ultimate Silicon Valley dream, Mike Krieger.
The co-founder of Instagram. I mean, a true giant in the tech world.
Right. Brazilian-born, co-founded one of the most culturally significant apps in history. Now, it's so easy to look at a guy like Krieger and think, well, he's a genius, he's a billionaire. The immigration doors must have just flown open for him.
You'd assume he had a skip-the-line pass, right?
For sure. We assume that extraordinary success just bends the rules. But attorney Chris Ingram's research points out something really critical here. Krieger didn't rely on magic. And more importantly, he didn't rely on loopholes.
So this wasn't about finding some kind of back door.
Not at all. Krieger's journey is actually a blueprint for lawful STEM success. It's a clear example of how immigrant talent shapes the U.S. tech ecosystem through the established, boring bureaucratic pathways.
Let's break that blueprint down. Because established pathways sounds a little dry, but the way Krieger did it was incredibly strategic.
Yeah, it started way before Instagram, didn't it? It started with his education.
It did, and this is so key for any students listening. He used education as a stabilizing force. He earned a degree in symbolic systems at Stanford.
Okay, I have to stop you there. Symbolic systems. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel.
Right, or a Dan Brown book, maybe. But when you look at it through the lens of immigration law, which is what our researchers did, it's incredibly smart. Symbolic systems is this multidisciplinary mix of AI, cognitive science, computer science, logic.
Okay, so it's rigorous. It's not underwater basket weaving.
Extremely rigorous. But why does that matter for a visa? Because it fits the legal definition of a specialty occupation perfectly. To get an H-1B, your job has to require this body of highly specialized knowledge.
I see. So if you get a generic business degree, you might struggle to prove that you have a specialty, but symbolic systems?
That screams specialty. Precisely. He wasn't just getting a degree, he was building a credential that the law recognizes as unique. And from there, he just followed the standard playbook. He went from student to lawful work authorization, probably OPT, to getting hands-on experience.
And he didn't start at Instagram, right? He was at another startup first.
He was, a startup called Meebo.
Meebo. I remember Meebo. That was the little chat bar at the bottom of websites.
A total blast from the past. But look at the progression. He didn't jump straight to billion-dollar founder. He built this foundation of disciplined engineering. And Attorney Ingram points out that stories like Krieger's prove that immigration law works best when it lets talent grow over time.
That's a really interesting point, because in 2026, the market is so obsessed with hacks. Everyone wants the cheat code. How do I get my green card in 6 months? But our research team posed a question. Does that slow, lawful path still pay off?
And their insight was very clear. The real value comes from sustained contribution, not from shortcuts or exceptions. Krieger himself said, being an immigrant has shaped the way I see the world and the way I think about building products.
What do you think he meant by that exactly?
I think he meant that the constraint of being an immigrant, the need to be precise, to be excellent, to follow the rules, it actually made him a better engineer. His background gave him an innovative edge, but following the process gave him the stability to actually use it.
So if he had tried to cut corners, he might have been tied up in legal battles instead of coding Instagram.
Exactly. So the takeaway is, don't look for the loophole. Look for the solid ground. Be like Krieger.
And this is where reality hits. You can be as brilliant as Mike Krieger, but you still have to live somewhere.
That brings us to the environment. Because while federal agencies control the laws, the paperwork, the priority dates, it's the local cities that control your daily reality.
And the research team highlighted a really compelling case study that I did not expect. Syracuse, New York.
It's not the first place you think of for tech, is it?
Not at all.
But Syracuse is fascinating here. It's a hub for universities and massive healthcare systems. And these are industries that rely heavily on foreign-born talent, especially in engineering and data analysis. The local economy literally depends on them.
But that creates a conflict, doesn't it? Because when federal enforcement heats up, as we know it has, it creates fear. Even if the local hospital needs you, if the feds are cracking down, it makes for a hostile atmosphere.
For sure. And when you have that strict federal enforcement, you get these downstream effects. Fear, disengagement, that disrupts the very institutions that are driving the regional economy. If people are afraid to drive to work, they don't participate. They hide.
Which is where Mayor Sharon Owens comes in. What's her approach? It seems like she's taking a different tack.
Mayor Owens has taken a very pragmatic stance. She frames immigration not as this big ideological, red versus blue battle, but as a practical necessity for economic resilience.
Economic resilience. I like that term. It sounds sturdy.
It's all about livability. For a STEM professional, livability isn't just about your salary. It's about the environment. Can you trust public services? Can you enroll your kids in school without looking over your shoulder?
If you don't have that stability, the salary doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. Mayor Owens was quoted saying, "The diversity of this city is what makes us the best that there is." She's positioning the city as a partner, even if the federal government is being difficult.
And this connects back to a legal insight from attorney Chris Ingram. Our team asked if local politics really matter for a federal applicant. I mean, does it matter who your mayor is if USCIS denies your case?
And his answer was that while immigration law is federal, its real-world impact is always local.
That makes total sense. If you live in a community that prioritizes trust, you're better positioned to comply with the law because you aren't hiding.
Exactly. Communities that build trust help professionals comply and contribute. It's a symbiotic relationship. You need a Syracuse to support your inner Krieger.
Okay, so we've got the blueprint be strategic, like Krieger. We've got the environment find your Syracuse, but now we have to deal with the elephant in the room, the rumors.
The noise machine.
Even the most welcoming city can't protect you from bad information or, federal statutes. And 2026 has brought a storm of them. So let's play a little game of fact versus fiction using the research from our legal team.
Let's do it. Lay them on me.
First up, the gold card. We keep hearing this term thrown around on forums. Is it real or is it internet mythology?
Fact check. It is reality. The Gold Card program is no longer just a rumor. It's verified policy.
Okay, so that's a win. But next, the money.
Feeling lost in a maze of visa types and paperwork? Don't know where to turn? We've got your back. With clear answers and real help, we'll guide you every step of the way. Let's navigate it together. Your journey starts today.
Hello, you must be Clara. Welcome to the law office of Chris M. Ingram.
Finally, I found a law firm that will help me achieve my American dream.
At this law firm, you are important to us. That's why we will be with you every step of the way. So join us at the office of Chris M. Ingram.
We keep hearing about this $100,000 H-1B entry restriction fee. That sounds astronomical. Is that real?
I wish I could say it was a typo, but it is real. And it's important to clarify, this isn't just standard inflation or a processing hike. This is a matter of statutory law.
Wait, hold on. A six-figure barrier?
In certain situations, yes. The rising costs are codified. It's a barrier, absolutely. But it's a legal reality that applicants and companies have to account for.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about something a bit darker. The risk of revocation. We've heard stories about visas being pulled after they are granted. What's the truth there?
The truth is, it's sobering. The Department of State absolutely retains the authority to revoke visas for even minor violations. And the research shows they are actively exercising this power.
Why the crackdown?
It's largely framed around national security. They're cross-referencing data like never before. But the net is cast pretty wide. A minor status violation from 5 years ago could trigger a flag today.
So it's not just an idle threat?
No, not at all.
Right.
The official warning is pretty stark. A visa does not guarantee entry and may be revoked at any time under law.
That sounds terrifying. It's like walking on a tightrope without a net.
It does, but that's why compliance is framed as the only safety net. You just can't afford to be casual about the rules. In 2026, close enough is not good enough.
So I have to ask the question that Attorney Ingram tackled. Does all this strict enforcement, the fees, the revocations, mean the door is closing on STEM talent?
It's a valid fear, but he offered a crucial perspective. He clarified that rules, even strict ones, are necessary. He said, the system works best when rules are clear, applied consistently, and understood by those who rely on them.
I see. So chaos is actually worse than strictness.
Exactly. If the rules are clear, even if they're tough, you can navigate them. You can plan. If the rules change every day, you're just lost.
Okay, that makes sense. Predictability is valuable. So let's pivot. We've covered the scary stuff. Now let's answer the main question. The 2026 shift, we're looking at the January 2026 Visa Bulletin.
This is where we get into the weeds, but trust me, the weeds are where the hope is hiding.
Talk to me about the data. What are we seeing?
We are seeing a modest but critical forward movement for EB1 and EB2 categories. Now, I have to add a big caveat. This is for countries outside of India and China, which face their own huge backlogs. But for the rest of the world, there's movement.
Modest but critical? I'll take it. But the research from our team suggests the real game changer isn't just the final dates. It's this mechanism called dates for filing.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the operational shift that really matters, the expansion of dates for filing.
Okay, can you explain that in plain English? Because that sounds like administrative jargon. Why should I care?
Okay, think of it this way. Usually you can't file your final green card application until a visa is immediately available for you. That's the finish line.
Right. You wait outside the club until the bouncer lets you in.
Exactly. But dates for filing is like a VIP pre-queue inside the lobby. The government is letting STEM professionals submit their adjustment applications earlier based on this separate, more generous chart.
Okay, so you get your paperwork in the pile sooner, but does that actually change your life, or is it just sitting in a different pile?
Oh, it absolutely changes your life. This is the critical part. Because once you file that adjustment application, that I-485, you unlock benefits right away. You can apply for work authorization and travel documents while you wait.
Oh, wow. So instead of sitting in limbo, tied to one specific employer, unable to switch jobs or travel home, you get your freedom back.
You get your life back.
Yeah.
Exactly. You aren't stuck. You can get an open market work permit. You can get advanced parole to travel.
That is huge. That's not just administrative, that's personal freedom.
It is. And there are other operational improvements the legal team identified. There's much better coordination now between USCIS, the agency inside the U.S., and the Department of State.
Why does that coordination matter?
Because in the past, a lack of communication meant visa numbers went to waste. At the end of the year, if they weren't used, they just evaporated, gone. which is tragic when you have a backlog of people waiting. Now they are coordinating to stop that waste.
So efficiency is actually speeding things up.
Yes. Plus, we have expanded premium processing and digital case management. These things reduce administrative friction. The goal of 2026 seems to be greasing the gears.
As the federal agency said, operational improvements, reduce administrative friction, and improve predictability.
And Attorney Ingram weighed in on this too. He emphasized that when timelines become clearer, professionals can plan careers instead of putting their lives on hold. That predictability is power.
So let's bring this all together. We started with the question, will 2026 speed up your green card?
And based on the research and the current landscape, the answer is yes.
But there's always a but.
But not through magic, not through a loophole.
Right, it's not a magic wand.
No, the speed comes from efficiency. It comes from the system finally stopping the waste of visa numbers. It comes from being able to file earlier via dates for filing and getting your life back sooner.
It's about being strategic, like Mike Krieger.
Exactly. Look at the threads. Krieger's structured rise, that was preparation. Syracuse and Mayor Owens, that's about finding stability. And the 2026 process improvements, that's about using the new rules to your advantage.
So the speed is there, but you have to go get it. You have to be proactive.
Resilience isn't about enduring uncertainty blindly. It's not just suffering through the wait. It's about acting on verified facts. The speed comes when you file earlier and navigate a system that is, finally coordinating better.
That's a powerful thought to end on. The system is moving, but you have to move with it. You can't just sit back. You have to look at the data, look at the statutes, and take action.
Absolutely. The opportunity is there for those who are prepared.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We hope you gained a lot from this discussion. Please leave us a comment if you can. Additionally, you can support our channel by sharing it with your friends and family, helping us build this community together.
Also, follow us on Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and Instagram, where we're growing rapidly thanks to our social media team.
We would also like to thank attorney Chris Ingram and his dedicated team once again for researching and preparing this material for our presentation.
See you next time on Let's Talk U.S. Immigration. Bye for now.